and thank you for joining us on the Glazov Gang. My name is Tiffany Gabay, and I'm filling in for Jamie Glazov tonight. Joining me this evening are three just unbelievable conservative thinkers. My guest tonight, I'll begin with Dwight Schultz, an accomplished actor and lifelong conservative. Dr. Karen Siegemund. Karen is an educator and the founder of Rage Against the Media. And then joining us as well is Howard Hyde. He is the author of Pull the Plug on Obamacare, which is a very informative pamphlet for those who want to know more about the subject. And he is also the editor of hhcapitalism.com. Thank you for joining me, everyone.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Okay. Well, there's a lot going on in the news cycle, as always. I don't think a week can go by without, reading the headlines, and I cringe. It's, you pull up Drudge or Front Page, and I just kind of want to bury my head in the sand. But nonetheless, we're here to talk about some of these issues. And I think since we did just mention your pamphlet on Obamacare, that's a good place to start, Howard. Couple of things going on with Obamacare. UPS has just announced that it is cutting 15,000 spouses off of its health care plans. Companies like Forever 21, various companies across the country are cutting employees' hours to part-time so they won't have to give their employees health care. And they're coming out flat out and saying it's because of Obamacare, we can't afford it. Howard, just in a nutshell, what can you make sense of this madness?
Well, you mentioned UPS and Forever 21 and a couple other companies. Last week we were talking about other companies, and next week we're going to be talking about other companies. You just have to open your daily newspaper today, yesterday, or tomorrow to see the destructive effect of this law. And that's basically the point of the second point of my pamphlet. It has 3 or 4 points. Number one, this is the wrong reform. It's conceived on fraudulent premises. Number two, it's destructive, as we're seeing on a day-to-day basis. Number three, it cannot and will not work. It will never, ever fulfill its advertised promises. And number four, there's plenty of things that we ought to be doing instead of what Obamacare is.
Just for people who aren't too familiar, explain for our viewers, why can't employers afford to insure their employees now when Obamacare snaps into effect?
Well, you've got all kinds of mandates. The law says what has to be in the insurance plan. You have to give fertility treatments and abortifacients to people whether they want them or not, whether their religious conscience will permit it or not. It's just the government saying what has to be in the plan. States, California, New York, other states are leading the way with these mandates, hundreds of them, saying what has to be in the plan. It's not up to you and me, the patient or the consumer, or shopping individually for an insurance plan saying, well, I'd like to be covered for this, that, and the other thing, and I'm willing to pay this much. It's this massive interference in the market that is gumming things up.
Exactly. Dwight, I think you had brought this up last week that, basically the plan, the unofficial plan may be that the Democrats are hoping that Obamacare collapses so we can go to single payer.
Well, this is what they've wanted all along. They just lied about it. I mean, Obama wanted single payer. They all wanted single payer. They all want nationalized health care. They want to destroy the system that we now have in place. If you think back to Hillary, when she wanted it, in her plan, she was going to tell you in medical school what you could go into. You couldn't just go to medical school and say, I'm going to be an orthopedic. No. You have to go into what I tell you. These politicians who know really nothing are telling us what to do with the greatest health care in the world, and all the doctors are leaving. And if you look at New Jersey as an example here, you could buy a modest insurance policy for yourself. But these insurance programs are not going to be allowed in the exchange.
It was an actual insurance policy as opposed to a prepaid pile of mandates.
Now, because you have to take everything that's mandated by Obamacare, and nobody knows what that is, you have to spend a fortune, and of course you're not, and you're going to be penalized by the IRS who's going to know everything about it.
Exactly. Right. Well, people may not know what it is, but in Illinois, Karen, the state has signed up an army of some 800 part-time or temp employees, paying them anywhere from $9 an hour to about $45,000 an hour if you have community organizing skills to sign people up for Obamacare. I mean,
Chicago,
like, Chicago somehow was
exactly. That's where pure coincidence.
That's where the legions of Obamacare crusaders are located. And what are your thoughts on this madness?
Well, we're seeing exactly the opposite of the free market. We're seeing individuals deciding not to participate and the government deciding they need to spend our money to hire people to bring us into this monstrosity of a program that will not work, that will destroy the healthcare system that we have, and we are going to be the ones paying for people to sign us up against our will.
At least they're paying, maybe consenting adults.
Living wage?
You're paying a living wage to consenting adults, as opposed to paying school children to propagandize their parents, as is happening in L.A.
And there's a technique that they use over and over again, the Obama administration, and you're going to see it this week, where the president is going on a bus trip because the federal government's going to take over our educational system, higher educational system. So what is going, all of this that we really need to destroy is going to be off the Obama television monitors, and we're going to be talking about federalized education, higher education, fundamental change
in
education.
And this is a question I'll open up to any one of you. I mean, in terms of Republican leadership to oppose this, I mean, we obviously have Ted Cruz. He's kind of the lone man out who's looking to fight Obamacare, not getting a lot of support from the GOP establishment. No. Do you think Ted Cruz can be successful in his campaign?
Well, it's interesting to see what the opposition is saying about him. You have the protesters out saying, "What's going to happen to the uninsured?" Well, excuse me, people are losing their insurance because of Obamacare. They're losing their jobs, they're losing their hours, they're being cut back to under 30 hours per week so that the employer doesn't have to comply with the mandate and all that. Moreover, we already had a government plan for the indigent, uninsured, that was called Medicaid. Remember that thing that we put together 40 years ago? Well, guess what? Statistically, you are better off today having no insurance at all than being covered under Medicaid. So the answer is, hallelujah, if you don't have insurance compared to being on government care.
No, I think that makes perfect sense. Well, and you bring up a good point. A lot of people complain about this country, and for all of its faults or shortcomings, it's still the best place in the world. People come here from all over the world to get health care.
It's like the best place in the world to get sick.
Exactly. People complain about, people's civil rights being abused here, and meanwhile, look at what's going on in the Middle East. And I know this is kind of a pretty sharp shift in topic, but I do want to cover what's going on there right now because so much has happened. We have what's going on in Syria right now is absolutely incomprehensible. Assad is being accused. Well, first of all, we have the video. We know that some kind of chemical gas, whether it's sarin or nerve gas, is being used against the Syrian people. There are children who are literally dying in the hundreds. I mean, I think the death toll, some reports have come out that it's up to 1,300 people. Our commander-in-chief has said the UN needs to investigate this. That's about as tough as he got. But then again, he wasn't that tough with Putin, and he wasn't that tough with any of the other people who needed to be, needed an iron fist and needed to see some firm leadership. Dwight, what are your thoughts on what's going on?
I mean, he has made such a mess for the United States by allying himself with the Muslim Brotherhood, the parent organization of Al-Qaeda, which is in Syria, which has destroyed Egypt, practically put it into a civil war, which apparently, we don't know who, but they stole 400 of our missiles from Libya. So what does Barack Obama do when he supports those who are existentially our enemy in the world? What does he do? He can really do nothing because he has brought this not only to the Middle East, but he's brought them into our government. And I don't know whether you saw Walid Shubat's report, and who knows if it's true, but Obama's brother
Yes, I
apparently is working for the Muslim Brotherhood, and the IRS gave him a pass on his 501c3 and made it retroactive to 2008. Now, if this turns out to be true,
I thought he joined the Tea Party Patriots.
I mean, this is
different terrorists.
This is unbelievable. But Obama, there has to be an explanation, and somebody at some point has to say, why did you bring members of the Muslim Brotherhood into our government? It's got to be asked, because we know who tried.
The whole Obama foreign policy is predicated on the notion that the United States is a force on net balance for evil in the world.
Right.
That when we get involved, it's for the worse. We're there to exploit. We're there to get oil for blood or blood for oil. I forget which direction. And therefore, the moral thing to do, according to the Obama mindset, the liberal mindset, is for us to retreat. We retreat from Iraq. We declare victory and get the heck out of Afghanistan. Instead of what might be a little wiser, which would be a first in, first out policy. Why don't we exit from Afghanistan and Iraq and these other places after we've exited from Germany and Japan and other places, South Korea, places that we've been a little while longer.
Well, and with Obama, it's always been about bringing America down to size, right? And it's putting America in its place. And a lot of people think, well, maybe things will improve with the next potential president. But what if that happens to be Hillary, our former Secretary of State, Karen?
The one who created
exactly.
this mess in the first place. I mean, yes, of course it was President Obama, but she was our Secretary of State. She's the one who helped usher in, well, the reset button, which was incorrect. But the entire Arab Spring was, in large part, her doing. All this notion of these are students rallying in the street wanting peace, love, kumbaya, Jeffersonian democracy, and it's America's role to help these students pave the way for the Muslim Brotherhood to come in to the Middle East and do exactly what's happening now. We've got Syria, we've got Egypt. Don't even want to mention what happened in Benghazi, but okay, I'll mention what happened in Benghazi.
What difference does it make?
Well, right.
Well, to some of us, it makes a difference. But indeed, and I think we really do have to consider the role that the anointed Secretary of State, former Secretary of State Hillary, the damage that this woman wrought is really hard to fathom. Everything that we're seeing unfold in the Middle East right now, she had a hand in, and
I think that's
it's incredible.
It's an excellent point, because a lot of people forget. They think Hillary is the lesser of two evils here, and they just see Obama as the big saint, to use some terminology that they like in the Middle East. But she may she's definitely likely going to run in 2016. And,
she's running now.
She's running
now,
yeah.
absolutely.
And now's the time to address these issues.
And she has had a hand in this botched, horrible foreign policy that has completely changed the face of the Middle East. But in a turn, or an ironic twist of fate, there is talk now that they're releasing Mubarak from prison and that he'll be under house arrest as early as Thursday. Do you think that there's any chance that Mubarak might take office again, Howard?
That Mubarak might take office again? Snowball in purgatory.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I don't see that.
Karen,
Because
Dwight?
I don't think he'll take office, but I think again they are doing everything that they can over there now. And I'm seeing reports the Muslim Brotherhood is taking it on the chin, and of course this is a snub, because Morsi is the one who wanted Mubarak killed. I mean, executed. But I think this is Sisi saying no. We're taking him out, and he's under house arrest. But we're putting our thumb in your eye, and we're going to come after you and try to crush you. And I think that civil war is what's afoot.
So that's your prediction. Karen, what are your predictions for
Egypt?
Egypt?
Yeah, I think it's going to get uglier before it gets better.
And Howard, do you think we're going to stick with some military rule, and or new players going to come into power?
Well, what we ought to do and what we will do is an open question, because, of course, Obama has been tipping the scales in the favor of the Muslim Brotherhood from the very beginning.
Well, he certainly is going to have help with Al Jazeera and potentially Al Jazeera America when we
And
talk
John,
about that.
Three cheers
Let's not
for
forget
free
John
speech.
Kerry and Samantha Powers
Right,
and all the
right.
other
The press.
players in all of this who do not have democracy in their
Blood.
on their list of what they want. They don't have strong allies is something that they want. They don't want any of the things that we've traditionally wanted in the Middle East. They do not want, and
I
they
think-
are important players.
I think we could get maybe a more coherent foreign policy toward Egypt and the Muslim Brotherhood if we could possibly convince Democrats and liberals that the Muslim Brotherhood is kind of like Republicans, only a little bit worse. I mean, you look at their record on women's rights,
Right.
on human rights, on
Homosexuality.
gay
Yeah.
rights,
Right,
on reproductive
absolutely.
rights. They don't look so good. So if we could just plant that
Exactly.
seed in their minds.
Don't
Dwight.
forget, Iran is sitting out there right
Yeah.
now,
Well-
and Hezbollah. Now there was an attack on a Hezbollah office a few days ago. I've heard nothing else about it. It was
Well,
quite
it's
a-
so interesting because this is a great diversion. We're all of a
Right.
sudden not talking about Iran anymore, and as you
Right.
mentioned, Hezbollah.
and
So
it's moving ahead.
It's one diversion
Absolutely.
from another diversion
Yeah.
from another diversion.
Well, to connect
Exactly.
those dots, it is not in America's interest, and it is not in the interest of the freedom-loving, modern-thinking people of Egypt that Egypt should become a Sunni version of Iran.
Well, thank you to all of my guests. Our segment is up for right now, and we'll be back after this break.